Good afternoon and welcome to the Hamilton Renewable Power. Welcome to the Hamilton Renewable Power Incorporated Board of Directors. I'm Andrew Holland. I'm the City Clerk. I will be starting the meeting. And we will start the meeting. May I please have nominations for the position of Chair of the Hamilton Renewable Power Incorporated Board of Directors for the 2022 to 2026 term? Taking nominations from the floor.
There, I got it. So can I just ask a question? Who would normally be the chair of this organization? Is it one of the members, like one of the council members?
Yes, it'll be a member of council.
Craig, do you want to do it?
It doesn't meet that often, I will let you know.
I think I just got voluntold.
No, honestly, you don't have to do it. I just wondered if it's all right with you. I mean, I'll do it if you don't want to, but
It'd be great
Sure.
practice.
Yeah, sure. All right, I'm in.
okay. I nominate Councillor Craig Kassar to be the chair, and then I'll be the vice chair. Oh, or you can nominate me to be the vice chair. Or is somebody else going to, oh, look it. Councillor Tatterson just came in. He hasn't heard any of this conversation yet, Councillor Kassar.
So we'll take, so nomination for Councillor Kassar to be chair, and that nomination comes as moved by Mayor Horvath, and it's seconded by Councillor Tatterson. Are there any other nominations for the position of chair? Seeing none, congratulations, Councillor Kassar.
All right.
I'm now taking nominations for the position of Vice Chair for the Hamilton Renewable Power Incorporated Board of Directors for the 2022 to 2026 council term. I'll take nominations from the floor, please.
I nominate Councillor Tatterson to be the vice chair.
I'll second that nomination.
Thank you, Councillor. Any more nominations? Seeing none, there being no further nominations, may I please have a motion to appoint Councillor Tatterson as the Vice Chair of the Hamilton Renewable Power Inc. Board of Directors for 2022-2026 term? Thank you. Councillor Kassar. I don't believe so. So moved?
So moved, yeah.
Thank you. And we can vote by hand on that. Thank you. Sorry, I did forget to take a vote for the chair. Well, I'll do that again. There being no further nominations, may I please have a motion to appoint Councillor Kassar as the chair of the Hamilton Renewable Power Inc. Board of Directors for 2022-2026 term. Moved by the mayor, and that is carried. Councillor Kassar, we are passing you the procedures.
Okay. Okay, well, you're going to have to help me along here for the first time, maybe?
Yep. So we're on page 2 of the procedures.
I don't have that in front of me. What should I have?
Just one moment, Councillor. We'll send those to you.
Thank you. Is that coming by email?
Yes, Councillor.
See Jim Can has his hand up.
Yeah, through the chair, if it will be helpful, I can maybe provide some opening comments while we get this sorted out. The Hamilton Renewable Power Incorporation was founded some time ago, and it was founded at a time when the Municipal Act restricted some of the activities that municipalities could do. Linda Campbell, she is here with me today, and she will be providing an overview of the Hamilton Renewable Power Incorporated structure, function, what it did in the past, and what we hope to do in the future. In addition, I'm joined by Shelley and Isabella. Shelley's our treasurer, so she will handle the books and the financials. And I have a unique position where I am a non-voting member of the board, so I will be participating in the meetings, but I'm also one of the items here, if the board does approve it, will be the president of the Hamilton Renewable Power, Inc. That's no different than being the president of Transit, which is Hamilton Street and Rail, where I'm the president of that organization too. It's really a figurehead position where I sign off on documents as executed by this board, but I will be hopefully participating as a non-voting member of this board, in addition to being the president of the Hamilton Renewable Power, Inc. As we go through the presentation, which Linda has been preparing for a number of weeks, and I know she's going to take it out of the park, there's a lot of content in there, and there's a lot of salient points that members of the committee should be aware of. This all came about where our I would say senior director, Rome D'Angelo, and Tom Chessman, who was the VP of the Hamilton Renewable Power, Inc., HRPI, as it's referred to, both retired within the same day back in October. So for many of us, this is our first time through this journey, and we do have some history that we could draw upon, and we do have records and notes, but the work that we do as we go through the year, hopefully this board will find very meaningful and of value to the city, and there's a return on efforts at the end of the day, which is a financial return of efforts. So I think it's an important one as we move forward. So with that, hopefully, if there's any questions, I'll be happy to entertain them, but I will. Those were my opening comments.
Thanks, GM Ken. Sir, it seems like first time through is a bit of a theme today, so thank you for that. Are there any questions or comments? No? Okay, I have the documents here. We'll keep going. So, Madam Secretary, are there any changes to the agenda?
No, Mr. Chair, there are not.
Okay, could I then have a motion to approve the agenda as presented? And is this electronic or just by hands? Just by hands?
I'm fine to do it by hand. I think that'll be easier for this meeting.
Perfect. Okay. So can I get a motion to approve? Yep.
And that's unanimous.
Okay, thank you.
I
Are there-
apologize. I apologize, Mr. Chair. We need a mover and a seconder.
Okay,
I'll second. So it's moved by Mayor Horvath, seconded by Councillor Wang.
oh, Councillor Wang, I didn't see you there. Hello, thank you. Okay,
Can you see what happens, Councillor Cassar, when you're the first one at a meeting? You're the one that ends up the chair.
I used to say, Mayor, that if you're not 15 minutes early or late, then I'm going to have to revise that, I see. All right.
And that
Okay.
carries 4-0.
Okay, thank you. Okay, operations update. There doesn't look like there's an operation update at this time. So then we are on to staff presentations. So we're going to have a presentation and overview. Could I have a mover and a seconder to receive the presentation, please?
Sorry, Mr. Chair, if we could just back up on page 2 and ask for declarations of interest first, please.
Oh, I am so sorry. Are there
That's
any
okay.
declarations of interest?
We're seeing none, Mr. Chair.
Okay,
And then we'll move on to the adoption of minutes.
I did skip by that, thanks. So could I have a motion to approve the minutes as presented from August 20th, 2023? Looks
Moved by
like
Councillor Taddison,
Addison.
seconded by Councillor Wang.
So there was a previous meeting and they were at it and I missed it?
Oh, 2022 probably, right?
Sorry, it's supposed to be 2022.
Yeah, but my point is, can somebody move minutes who has not been at the meeting?
We have to because no one is present who was at that meeting
Okay,
for adoption of the minutes.
Makes sense. Otherwise, we'd be stuck.
So that's moved and seconded. We'll take a show of hands. That carries 4-0.
Okay, we'll keep moving now. Now there are no operations update. So we'll go on to staff presentations. I think I have it right this time. May I have a mover and seconder to receive the presentation?
Sorry, Mr. Chair, we're going to do the presentation right now. We have Linda Campbell,
Okay,
and then we'll receive after. Thank you.
thank you. Okay, Linda Campbell, over to you.
Good afternoon, Madam Mayor and council members. Welcome to the first HRP board meeting of 2023. My name is Linda Campbell and I am the VP of Operations for the HRP organization. Today, we're here to provide you with some background on Hamilton Renewable Power, Inc. and why it was formed and what it brings to the city of Hamilton. We'll also review the purpose and the roles of the board of directors. We'll go through some of the high-level benefits of HRP to the city, some information on renewable generation assets that are owned, the historical financial results, and some future strategic initiatives, and then move to the resolutions that will be put before you for decision. I am happy to answer any questions you may have during the presentation or at the end, whatever you would like. So in 2005, the city had a desire to explore the initiative of creating a source of renewable energy through the construction and operation of a cogeneration facility using methane that was available at the city's wastewater facility. And then shortly after that at Glanbrook landfill. At the time, under legislation, the city itself, as Carla did mention, the city itself could not participate in this venture directly. And in order to move forward, the city formed a city-owned corporation, and Hamilton Renewable Power was established. So HRP Inc. built the assets and continues to operate and maintain these renewable energy facilities, and HRP Inc. is governed by members of council. Hamilton was the first municipality in Ontario to be accepted by the Ontario Energy Financial Corporation to build a generator for sustainable green energy. So all corporations in Ontario must establish and maintain a board of directors. HRP's board is composed of members of council, and the purpose of the board is to govern and supervise the management of the business in an honest view to the best interest of the corporation. Annual general meetings are held. Other board and special shareholder meetings occur as required according to the needs of the corporation. Our staff at the city support the active day-to-day activities such as day-to-day operations of the equipment, financial matters, paying bills, financial statements, etc., any presentations, as well as current and future business developments and future initiatives and strategy. The City of Hamilton is the sole shareholder of the corporation. This is the proposed HRP organizational chart today. Please note that today we propose filling the president position through resolution to the board, but the senior VP position is to be filled at a future date. So HRP benefits the city in many different ways. The City of Hamilton is a municipal leader in producing renewable energy or green power. And as of the year end 2022, HRP had generated in excess of $3.9 million in cumulative shareholder value. So that's dividends. The annual net financial benefit to the city is over $1 million since 2009, except for the last 2 years where it's been reduced to a little less than $1 million. HRP's combined renewable energy generating capacity is 4.8 megawatts, or enough capacity to power 3,400 homes. Improvements to the environment through annual CO2 emission reductions is approximately 60,000 tons, or 12,000 cars off the road. Hamilton Renewable Power has a total of 3 1.6 megawatt biogas fueled systems. One is located at Hamilton Water's Woodward facility, and 2 units at the Glanbrook landfill site. These 3 units produce renewable power to Ontario's electricity grid through long-term contracts with the province. So what we have here is a photo of the cogen unit at Woodward. Now, I'm sure everyone will recognize the large sphere in the background. That's what holds the gas that is used to produce the electricity. The green sea container is where the large engine is housed that produces the green electricity that is sold to the provincial grid. Under administration of city staff, this facility is operated by HCE Energy, and the engine is maintained by Toromont. So this unit produces 1.6 megawatts of renewable energy, and the heat it generates as a side product is used by the city in its wastewater processes, saving 1.5 million cubic meters of natural gas annually in heat reclaim. The 20-year contract in place for this engine is with the Ontario Electricity Financial Corp and is set to expire in December 2025. This is a photo of the Glanbrook landfill cogeneration station. The operations and maintenance of these 2 units is done solely by Toromont Inc. with oversight and administration managed through city staff. You will note it has 2 sea containers that each house 1 engine. These units run on the methane gas from the landfill that is collected from the vertical and horizontal wells. These 2 engines produce 3.2 megawatts of renewable energy, which is enough electricity to power 2,100 homes. The contract for electricity that's produced is sold to the grid is with the independent electrical supply operators, the IESO, and it is a 20-year contract that expires in December 2027. So now we move on to the financial results. These are historic to date to 2022. I should mention that the 2022 numbers are unaudited at this point. So the total net income for 2006 to 2022 is approximately $2.9 million. Net income is calculated as revenues minus expenses, interest, and taxes. So sources of revenue for HRP Inc. are electricity, thermal, that's that heat reclaim that we were talking about, and interest. The expenses are made of cost of goods sold, so the cost of the methane that is purchased from the city, operating and administrative expenses, depreciation, bank service charges, and taxes, or pills in HRP's case. And Shelley, I'm not sure whether you can, I'm sorry. Yeah, okay. So the next column shows the dividends, and the dividends total is approximately $3.9 million for the same period. The dividend is the distribution of the company's earnings to its shareholders, which is the City of Hamilton. A dividend is determined by HRP's Board of Directors, and it originates from HRP Inc.'s net income. The last column is the city net benefit for the same period, 2006 to 2022. And this is approximately $21.5 million. The annual city benefit number, net benefit, is made up of revenue for city from sale of methane gas to HRP Inc., the recovery of salaries for legal and operational staff, and any dividends paid to the city for the years that HRP had net income instead of losses, if a dividend was declared. So on to immediate plans for the future. And I say immediate because we also have some long-term planning that we need to do, but that will be for another time. In preparation for the upcoming contract end at Woodward, a study was done to explore various options for this location, and it was determined that the creation of RNG was the best business case for future development at the Woodward site. In September of 2022, the board approved that staff proceed to work with the consultant and the water staff to advance the concept design and develop a financial business case for the production of more RNG at the site. This work will begin in the first quarter of 2023. Also at this time, staff have begun to explore future options for the Glanbrook landfill. That begins with the completion of a landfill gas future report that is being done by Waste. Any recommendations from that report and associated field work is scheduled to be completed by Q2 according to the Waste group, and the results of this study will form the basis for future recommendations of strategic plans for Glanbrook operations.
Q2 of this year?
Yes, correct. So these are the resolutions that will be before you. The first one, obviously, to appoint an officer for a vacant position. And the second one, I wanted to give you a little bit of background. On the second resolution, we are asking you to decide today is because Toromont Inc. were the supplier of the engine at Woodward, and as such, they are best suited to maintain the equipment. With the end of the current agreement at January 23rd of 2023, it was agreed that all regular maintenance would be suspended and only work necessary to ensure the safety and proper running of the equipment would be completed for that until such time as the contract was extended. And anything that needed to be done would be a PO would be provided. Since January 24th, no POs were required, and this is largely due to the fact that regular and routine maintenance has occurred throughout the lifetime of this equipment, and it is in very good shape. So we are asking for an extension of this maintenance agreement that will take us to the expiry of the current electricity agreement, which is December 2025, and at that time, we believe that will be the end of the engine use, which will be further determined by the decision to go forward with an RNG at that location. And that is all that I have. Any questions? Councillor Wayne? I can unshare, yes.
All right, Councillor Wang.
Thank you. Thank you for that presentation, VP. Can you just dig a little bit deeper into slide 12? Why is there, since 2020, a net loss and it gets bigger?
I can actually. So we've had a number of circumstances around both of our equipment locations. The first one at Woodward, they have been doing a very large electrical upgrade at that station in that area, and that affected, and our Woodward was down for almost a complete year. So that affected, obviously, our generating power. We weren't able to generate. The cogen unit was down completely. It is now back up and running, but that did affect, obviously, any kind of income that was come. In Glanbrook, one of the unfortunate byproducts of the fact that we are doing so well with our recycle reuse and everything in Hamilton is that the landfill is not producing as much methane as it maybe did many years ago. So that is one of the things that right now they are investigating to determine what the future is of that landfill, whether there are ways that they can make improvements to the horizontal or the vertical wells to see if there's any ways to improve that, whether they'll be open up new future cells. But at this time, we have only been able to run one engine at a time. So although we're not flaring off anything, we're using everything that's possible. We've unfortunately not been able to produce as much electricity as we may have wanted to. So that obviously affects revenues. The other thing is that a lot of the obviously the expenses, some of the maintenance things that we've had to do at some of the engines, part of the downtime at Glanbrook is due to Wi-Fi capabilities and our connection to through bell lines to Hydro One. And unfortunately, there is a lot of theft and the bell lines are being stolen. And that, when that happens, it takes us down for sometimes a week at a time, depending on how fast we can get Bell and Hydro One in the same place to determine what the problem is and to move forward with fixing it. We are looking at potentially raising this to risk to try and ask Bell to stop putting in the same type of wiring in order to stop the thefts. Because if they pull fiber once, then they're going to realize that, oh, there's no value to it, and maybe they'll stop cutting the lines. But it's a long span from the station to the actual cogeneration site. So there's a lot of wire that needs to be changed, and the expense is quite thing. We did look at HT Telecom to look at their fiber options, and the cost of that was very pretty significant. We can provide you with the results of that if you would like to see it. But at the time, again, this contract for generation is ending in 2027, and so at this time we felt that it really wasn't advisable to move forward with that kind of a capital investment in the equipment and the connection. So we've been kind of dealing with the issues as they arise. On the Woodward site, as I said, the plant was down for a long time. Some of the equipment repairs that needed to be done were quite significant in terms of cost, and that's also affected income. So.
Through you, Chair, just a couple more questions, if that's okay.
Of course.
So where are we now? Are we on track to be making those brackets into positive numbers?
I would like to say yes. I hope that we are, particularly in Woodward. Glanbrook is a little bit less. We're less certain of what's going to happen. We hope that the changes and the results of the survey that they've just done with their consultant will hope to have some changes. And as I said, the changes, they've expressed to us that they hope to have them done by Q2. And we're hoping that that will increase the amount of methane that's available for us to turn into electricity. But at this time, there's no confirmation. It's definitely a joint effort. We're definitely working with ways to, try and figure out what's the best way to manage that landfill and to get the most methane out of it. The other thing that we can hope for is that the expenses are reduced, and that will also hopefully turn us around.
Through the chair. If I can add to that.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I wear double hats. One, I'm a non-voting board member, but I'm also the general manager of Public Works, and both the waste management activities and the wastewater activities fall under me. In both of those portfolios divisions, we are working on longer strategies. For example, the solid waste management strategy, we're hoping to bring back to council a 25, 30-year view of where we're going in terms of solid waste in the city of Hamilton. And embedded in that will be the organics processing strategy, and what do we do with the organics that we collect in our green bin, and how can we optimize on that, process it, convert the organics into biogas, which could then be cleaned up and injected into the grid. So those are the type of things we're starting to look at, and developing that strategy that will come back to Public Works Committee and Council as a whole. And with the support of this board, we'll bring that forward with their recommendation. In terms of the landfill gas, we all know the FIT contracts, FIT 1, FIT 2, they're expired, and we are also looking at what is the best use of biogas co-digestion. We're paying about $110, $150 a ton to process organics. Can we do it within our own facility? So working with Director Winters and his team, we're also looking at what does the future hold, and we hope to take these numbers back to the positive. And when we look at things, we look at kind of effort and value, and strategically we're also working with the Climate Office to look at how we can lower the greenhouse gas emissions of the city, the corporation, and where we could start to displace fossil fuels. So there's a lot in there, and there's a lot coming back not only to this committee but to Public Works and to council as a whole.
Thanks, Jim Ken. Councillor Wang.
Additional follow-up questions then through you, Chair, to GM Can. I mean, maybe potential president of. As we have these different hats and as we have privy to information and the fact that we have an opportunity with the new potential wastewater facility in Dundas, is this organization thinking about future revenue generation models with potentially new investments with partnerships with Hamilton Water for those new facilities?
Through the chair to the councillor, without a doubt, we always look for those opportunities to be innovative and generate new forms of revenue for the city. When we look at what is the future of Dundas wastewater treatment plant and the partnerships there, I think you're thinking of the capital investment. And do we structure a deal where if you front end the capital, you get a share of the revenue on the back end for the next 30 to 50 years? So we have a number of people with that type of experience and knowledge. I myself kind of being one of them. So we're going to bring that forward in terms of a strategy, but I would love to get the right technology partner at the table who's willing to invest in the table. And I know that the mayor and the prime minister had a number of conversations around what that could potentially look like and having a three-way funding kind of relationship. So Director Winters and his team and myself are working on that. But with these things, it takes a little bit of time. We're going to develop a long-term strategy that, we will work with finance to build the business case. I think it's really important that when we build these strategies that we think of what all is possible, that we have a financial business case. And that's with the, sensitivity analysis that we could come back and inform committee and council so that they can make the appropriate decisions.
Just as a little bug in your ear, Chair, and to the rest of our committee here, our board here, I hope that we will look at these three-way partnerships and see it as revenue generation as opposed to cost neutral, just because I think about our wastewater facility, our biosolids facility at Woodward, and the fact that we don't make any money off of that. And in fact, it actually costs us money to maintain it. And actually, it costs us money to even encourage the third party to be there. So I hope that we can think of this as a revenue generator as opposed to it being cost neutral.
Yeah, that's really great input, Councillor Wang. Thank you. Are there any other first-time speakers?
Over here. Councillor Tattison.
Go ahead, Councillor.
To the potential president, you say we have two machines up in Glanbrook, 2 generators. Is there potential for moving one of those generators to another site that produces like the Woodward, like at Woodward? Is there an excess of methane produced at Woodward? Is that possible? Is there something like that being looked at?
So through the chair to the council, I'll start with the answer. And if Linda Campbell would like to add on, by all means. Part of when we generate electricity, we have to have a market for it. So if I am not getting the 14 cents or 12 cents that I used to get, and now they're offering me 2 cents, it doesn't make a lot of sense. So instead of converting the landfill gas or the biogas to electricity, we're looking at renewable natural gas because we do have the option of injecting it into the grid, blending it, socializing across the organization. So typically RNG will cost you about 85 cents a cubic meter to produce. If we blend it across the organization, I bet you we can get down to probably 2 to 5 cents per cubic meter blended rate. So that's taking all the fossilized gas that we use, injecting the RNG, and then every facility, every building, every furnace, every pool heater, every vehicle that we fuel will now be running on a percentage of RNG, and overall that will help us meet our climate action goals and reducing our footprint by 2050 as set out in the strategy. So the easy answer, Councillor, is if the market's there, I will move that machine wherever the money is.
Thank you, potential president.
Anything else, Councillor Tattison?
No more further questions.
Any other speakers? No? Okay, well, sorry, go ahead.
I have a question. Through you, Chair, to maybe VP Linda, what's our reserve look like and how healthy of a reserve do we have? By healthy, I just mean I would like to be positive. Or maybe to Shelley?
Through the chair, Shelley Hesmer, Treasurer for Hamilton Renewable Power. I'm actually going to turn this over to Isabella Herman, our accountant, to speak to.
Go ahead.
Hello. To the chair, when you talk about reserve, are you talking about equity, right? That acts like a reserve for us. So at the end of 2021, it was like $5.2 million.
Okay.
It was reduced because of the losses in the last 2 years.
Okay.
So the more losses we incur, the more this reserve is reduced.
Okay. Yeah, well, I'm still looking at
So
page 12.
through the chair, if I could add on.
Go ahead.
And Shelley, if I get this wrong, please correct me. So typically when revenues and funds flow into the city, it goes into the levy side, and that goes into the general reserves that we have. We don't have a reserve established solely for Hamilton Renewable Power, Inc. As we look into our new ventures and we start to look at what I call state of good repair, the cost of what happens to this asset when it reaches its end of life, and do we have money put aside, pennies on the cubic meter or megawatt, then we will start to build that reserve. But part of that is knowing the strategy and how we're going forward. And we will bring that recommendation forward that we either carve out a reserve specific for renewable power, or we say, you know what, it's okay to go ahead and just put it into the general pot. And then as we need through the budget process, we would apply for those funds. Did I get that right, Shelley?
Through the chair, that's correct. And it might be helpful, I can share also the financial statements with the members here as well.
Okay, yeah, that'd be helpful. Thank you.
Thank you. I think that the reason why I was going down this line of thinking was that in resolution 1, we're talking about pulling 100,000 from cash reserves to advance concept design for RNG. So I wanted to understand if there was enough in the 100K to do that, especially if I think that there's a real opportunity with RNG with how we achieve our climate objectives. So I just want to understand where'd that 100K come from, what's involved in that 100K, and is that even enough for the business case for RNG?
So through the chair, if I could answer that question.
Yeah, please.
So the 100K is coming from the general, typically a study within Public Works to look at the use of landfill gas, biogas to RNG. We can fit it within that envelope of money. From there, we will then take kind of what is the approved conceptual design and say, okay, this is the bigger dollar value to actually do the detailed design, purchase the technology, and construct. So I know I may come across as bringing in past experience, but I built a $15 million renewable natural gas plant in the city of Toronto, and that was kind of one of the selling features why I'm here today. I hope to do the same here in Hamilton because we control the feedstock, we control the biogas, or we control the landfill gas, and we have the opportunity of taking that and figuring out the business case in terms of what is the best return on investment and what is possible. So that's kind of what we're looking at, but absolutely right. The 100,000 is really just a conceptual design. Do we have enough biogas, landfill gas? What is the volume in terms of flow, cubic meters per minute? And what is the content of that? What % is methane? And is there anything in the gas that we need to be aware of in terms of to meet the RNG standards? It has to be 99.999% pure. Is there something that we can't knock out that will cause us to take a different strategy?
I have more questions, Chair.
Yeah, keep going.
So through you, Chair, when we talk about Hamilton renewable power doesn't necessarily mean that it's all biogas, biosolids. Is it part of the purview of this board to also explore other renewable power opportunities?
Great
So
question.
through the chair to the councillor. Part of wearing that double hat, we also manage the facilities end of it. So when we look at solar, we look at heat pumps, we look at what are the new standards for the city of Hamilton. And, you know, it could be as simple as we're going to put gardens or a green rooftop. Those are the type of things that we're going to bring forward with our friends in PED and planning and the climate office. But yeah, so when we talk about renewable power, nothing is off the table. And I think the organization that we have set up allows us to be nimble and allows us to go down in these paths that normally a municipality couldn't do. And that's why they set up the Hamilton Renewable Power Inc. structure back in 2005.
I'm excited. I can see that Councillor Taddison is also excited. I think Mayor's also excited. So I think we're all really excited. Continuing down this line of questioning and this line of thinking too, is that inside of the purview of HRPI, do we also have opportunities to leverage existing assets like our municipal buildings, like so we can look at roofs for solar capture, we can look at even things that like from Hamilton Utilities Corp with like their district energy and that sort of thing. Do we have access to any of those as well?
Through the chair to the councillor, most definitely that is the beauty of being within the envelope of the city of Hamilton and being the city of Hamilton being the sole shareholder of the Hamilton Renewable Power Incorporated portfolio. So with regards to the district energy on the facility sides, we're working with that group. We also work with HCE and they provide services to us. We're looking at the cost of implementing when we touch a building or we touch an asset, you know, can we start to look into the future how we can lower the emissions? Part of it may be construction materials where we start to look at low carbon concrete, or we start to look at instead of steel and glass, we're looking at heavy timber construction. Those are the type of things that we want to get into. And we want to set the standard so that we understand that this is the cost of doing it, but there's also the longer term benefit as we move towards what I call getting to a 1.5 degree planet.
Cool. One of the last sort of questions that I have is that as we're building out our long-term sort of strategy and it plays into our climate action and our climate priorities, and is this organization, are we mostly revenue generating? Like what's our sort of end goal here? Are we reducing the net levy impact, or are we generating money for debit? Like what's our end goal?
Through the chair to the councillor, I think the end goal has many facets to it. So wherever we can generate revenue and it makes sense, we will do that. The example I will give, and a number of members of senior, the leadership team, we were talking about this last night, was monetizing credits. But there's a downside to that, because when you monetize credit, that means someone who's buying it is now paying to pollute. Do we want to be that type of organization? Can we take those credits and can we monetize it instead of the entire bucket of it, say 1/5 of it, and then drive that back into the program? So part of that is the financial analysis, looking at how do we monetize things, and then balancing all these stakes that we're sitting on. We have the environmental benefit, we have greenhouse gas emissions, we have climate change, and then we also have the financial reality that we face. And as we go through the budget process, it's a tough process, right? We're not approving crazy rates. We're in the middle of the pack, which is the good news, but definitely anything that we can do to drive out value and drive out, I guess, effectiveness in how we do and how we operate, we're going to bring that forward in our strategies and through this board and through Public Works Committee and Council. We will make sure that we're not we're doing we call it triple bottom line analysis. So we're looking at kind of the financial, the social, economical, and also the environmental benefits. But, the fourth pillar is, what are we doing to save the planet? And it's something that I think everyone in public works and the organizations that stem off of public works, we all truly believe in.
Last question, I swear.
There, you have a minute left. Okay, go ahead.
As we've already identified, contracts are coming to an end by the end of 2025 and 2027. We already know that FIT programs are non-existent and they don't really do very much anymore. What are the other risks that we need to consider as we are making investments into our renewable energy?
Through the chair, I'll start, and if Linda, I miss anything, please feel free to jump in. Ultimately, the risk is one of financial risk. When we embark on a strategy and it's a 20 to 30 year strategy, typically around assets that have a life expectancy of 20 to 30 years, if something was to fall out, say, the floor of that, and financially we find out in year 15 that this doesn't make sense, all of a sudden, what do we do? So as we build our financial plans and we look at our business cases to move forward, we take a holistic life cycle approach and we look from cradle to grave. So it's, what does it take to get the asset up and running? What does it take to operate the asset during the entire life cycle of that asset? And then what does it take to retire the asset? And that's a piece that people always forget, is there's a cost to decommissioning and retiring those assets. So we would take a full view of that over 20 to 30 years based on what asset it is. And we would work with finance so that we make sure that at the end of the day, we're on the plus side. We also balance that with what are the environmental benefits. So RNG is not cheap. I alluded to the fact that it's between 85 to 90 cents or, a cubic meter. But ultimately, there are some environmental benefits that, it's displacing fossil fuels. So we go down from, you burn a cubic meter of compressed natural gas, which is a fossil fuel, I think it's about 40 point something kilograms of CO2. You go down to 0.03. And that's because it's coming from a non-fossil source. It's coming from organics. And when you look at the beauty of what we do as humans is we all eat. We all generate this organic material, and it's incumbent on me, like, why are we not capitalizing on that? Yeah. So I've had a number of discussions with Windsor, Ottawa, other municipalities, people across the globe, Australia, and they all like what we've done, and it's a matter of bringing that forward in a strategy that council, we clearly communicate. Council understands kind of these are the risks and these are the things that we've mitigated. I think there's a clever way to do things. It's just we have to gather everything together and present it as we move forward into this term of council. And I know we're setting our priorities through council in the near future, and there will be a focus on that. There's a lot to do, Councillor, as you alluded to. And how do we do that in a meaningful way, a lasting way that is not the salesmanship of the day? Because you know what, at the end of the day, I've seen too many projects go south where they come in, they sell a technology, it's commissioned, and then see ya. And we're left with struggling to run this thing. So, from a renewable natural gas facility to organics processing to co-digestion, all these things, we're hoping to not only bring new technologies and environmental benefits and financial benefits to the city, but also to bring jobs to city staff. I think there's no reason why we should be contracting, 80% of the stuff that we're contracting out. If there's a specific technology and one of the resolutions in front of you is to service that, fine, I understand that. But if it's the normal operations that our staff at Hamilton Water or our staff who are more technical can do, then let's bring it in-house.
Thanks, Jim. Ken? Who's Councillor Taddison? Go ahead.
Thank you. Yes, I have a question. As Councillor Wang alluded, we're all very excited about the potential for the future. However, I kind of wanted to look at, as you said earlier, and through the chair, sorry, Chair, to potential President Ken. we're talking about holistic life cycles, cradle to grave. I just wanted to look at, some legacy sites that we have in the city, and is there, they may have been retired, but is there potential to resurrect something like the old Upper Ottawa Street dump, and is there any potential to tap in that?
Through the chair to the councillor, in my past life, I had 160 closed landfills within our jurisdiction. I'm not too sure of the exact number in the city of Hamilton, but working with waste management staff, I'm sure we can easily find a map of that. Typically, you have to look at the volume of gas generated and the quality of that gas, how much methane is in there. In the older type of dumps, these are non-engineered landfills. The gas quality isn't there to make the business case typically.
Councillor Patterson?
No more questions, Chair Kassar.
Okay, Mayor?
Just a quick comment. The City of Hamilton does have experience in the contracting out of the operations of facilities, particularly waste facilities with Swaru. And it was controversial to bring that back in-house, but we brought it back in-house for a reason. And so it's music to my ears to hear GM Can or President Can's perspective on those things.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, I had some questions. So Vice Chair Taddison, I will hand the chair over to you.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Jim Can, you were touching on this, and it's one question I had here, I think, to get us grounded, just around this GHG savings. And so one of the slides here says 60,000 tons saved of emissions each year. So, and you touched on the difference between burning fossil fuels and renewable natural gas, something like a factor of 100 less. So could you just dive into that a little bit on why RNG has less emissions?
Yep, through the chair to the councillor, when you look at, I guess, the carbon that is released by burning any fuel, there are calculators out there that the Ministry of the Environment in the US, I'm trying to remember the name of the tools, that they use. And part of it is, where's the feedstock coming from? So when you look at dairy, they have a higher carbon intensity. So therefore, the emissions and what it takes to do that is the benefit is higher. When you look at extracting fossilized natural gas from out west, you basically have to look at the entire emissions profile. What does it take to take that gas out of the ground? What does it take to transport it across Canada to the border of Ontario? And then what does it take to get it into the pipeline and into the end user? So when you use these calculators, and these are calculators that are scientifically been developed, and Linda, you might be able to help me with the name of it. I'm just lost on what it is. That helps you figure out what the displacement is. And the one I was using was FortisBC. When they were looking to purchase RNG across Canada, they came up with a calculator, and that's what I used in my previous life to demonstrate the value of, here's what it happens when you burn a cubic meter of fossilized natural gas versus a cubic meter of RNG. There are scientific evidence when you put RNG into a vehicle such as a bus, you're cleaning the air because you're actually emitting less than if you would. So it's a cradle to grave assessment. It looks at not only what is being burnt in that bus, that heater, that pump, but also what does it take to get it out of the ground, where does it originate, and how do you get it to that point of consumption?
Thanks for that, and through the vice chair. So then if you're, and I totally understand the entire life cycle there, is there a difference in just the burning of RNG versus traditional?
So through the chair to the councillor, sorry if I jumped ahead of you, councillor, chair. So a molecule of fossilized natural gas versus a molecule of RNG are identical. So when you look at the composition of it, you can't tell the difference. So the equipment that burns it can't tell the difference. It really is what is the source of it and what does it take to extract it? And when you do the calculations, you see a significant generation of it. It's kind of, if you were looking at the example of electricity, I need to burn so much coal to produce electricity, so therefore these are my emissions. If I have a solar panel, I'm not burning anything, I'm not emitting a fuel. So that's why solar panels look so good and it's positive. So that would be my answer and my response to it.
Okay. To that, no further questions, so I'll take the chair back.
It's yours.
Any other second-time speakers? No? Okay. So now I will take a motion to receive the presentation, please. Okay, moved by Councillor Tattison, seconded by Councillor Wang. Show of hands. Okay, that looks unanimous. Okay, so I think we're now on to motions. So I'm just getting my bearings here. Yeah, so we're on to motions. And we had, so question, clerk, so I see what's on there as a motion for the role of president, but also in the presentation, there was a second resolution. So is that something we are doing today as well?
To the chair. So there's the appointment of the officer, which is GM Carlisle Can, the extension of the Tormont, and then confirmation of the actions of the corporation.
Okay, so we will then do the motion.
Chair, it's a motion to approve all of the resolutions.
Yeah, I got you. Okay, thank you very much. So could I have a motion to approve all of the resolutions, please? Councillor Tattison and seconded by Councillor Wang. And show of hands on that. That looks unanimous. It's carried. Okay, so congratulations, President Ken. That seemed not to be a surprise based on how you were being addressed throughout the meeting. So thank you. Okay, so we're at adjournment. So could I have a motion for adjournment? Mayor, seconded by Councillor Wang. Okay, and show of hands. Not a surprise. That passes unanimously. Thank you. And thank you, clerk, for helping me navigate through first time as chair.
Good job.
Good job.
Yeah.
Okay. Wish everyone thank you, Vice Chair Tattison. I hope everyone has a good weekend.
Thank you.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Bye-bye.